If you, like me, were awake in the middle of the night waiting for your adult kid to get home from the goth club, and so you happened to be up when you heard the news that the United States invaded another sovereign nation, engaged in an act of aggression against Venezuela, abducted their president and first lady, you maybe likewise didn't get an awful lot of sleep last night. So I want to take a moment here this morning because I know that folks were struggling throughout the night if they happened to hear the news then, or have been struggling all morning if they woke up to the devastating barrage of news stories about the U.S. attacking Venezuela. I'm getting an awful lot of messages. I'm in a couple of group chats where people are really, really stressed out. And I understand this can feel completely overwhelming, but the goal of the regime is to overwhelm you. And we're not going to play into their hand. So I just want to talk through for a second sort of my take on how we move forward as this story unfolds. I don't think we should in any way minimize the severity of this action. I have to go to a meeting, but when I get home, I want to talk about why I think the Trump regime did this and what kind of our takeaways and next steps are. But for this moment right now, especially because there are an awful lot of creators who have been making really frightening, scary videos and posts across social media, it feels very reminiscent of when last year Donald Trump bombed Iran. It's that same kind of like immediate escalation, immediate catastrophizing about anticipating what are all the potential horrible things the regime is going to do next. Are we moving into outright war? And also, I think this sense of shame that we live in the United States of America and our tax dollars are being used by our leaders to carry out these acts. I think it's very normal to feel frightened, to feel angry, to have your anxiety levels really, really ramped up right now. I also understand that social media posts that get your cortisol just completely jacked up tend to go really viral, tend to get lots of clicks. I also understand that social media creators are people, right? And they may very well be putting their very real distress over this news on their audience and asking their audience to manage their feelings for them. If you're a social media creator doing that, I encourage you to get offline and go and chat with your friends, go and chat with your therapist, what have you. If you are somebody who is looking at these social media posts and you're getting more and more escalated, more and more dysregulated, I want you to ask yourself, who benefits from our panic? If you're reading through social media posts, if you're doom scrolling through the news right now and you are becoming more and more distressed, if you're hoping that the next story will provide some comfort, the next story will ease your anxiety, I'm really encourage you to just maybe put your phone down for a little bit. I really encourage you to do something like engage in a leaf on a stream meditation or a 5 senses meditation. Maybe I'll make a video later today talking about my favorite short meditations to help me kind of ground and reset when the news is really, really distressing and I become very dysregulated. Maybe you want to put on an ASMR video and go through that process and kind of bring yourself down. Maybe you want to bundle up and go for a walk outside. On that walk, what are 5 things I can see with my eyes? What are 5 things I can hear? What are 5 things that I can reach out and touch? Any of those kind of grounding activities to bring you down, because I want you to understand that the regime wants you in a constant state of panic. They want you to feel overwhelmed. Remember, it's all about the shock and awe. That has not stopped. This goal to flood your system with anxiety, with cortisol, to make you feel that the barrage of awful news stories are never going to stop, to make it so that you cannot get your head above water, you cannot catch your breath before the next cycle of awfulness. Remember, just yesterday, we were talking about Nick Shirley and this daycare scandal in Minnesota. Remember, just months ago, Donald Trump was bombing Iran. Remember, less than a year ago, Donald Trump was talking about wanting to invade Greenland. Remember, Donald Trump has spent the last year trying to put troops in cities around this country. There's a specific reason that it's city after city after city after city, rolling them all out. It's to make sure it's constantly in the headlines. It's constantly overwhelming you. It feels like they are a never-ending, terrible, awful train that is plowing across this country. People who are in a state of constant emotional dysregulation, people who are really panicky, are not able to engage their rational mind very well at all. And those kind of folks are really easy to control, to manipulate through their emotions. Likewise, folks who have allowed themselves to be fully overwhelmed by all of the awful propaganda and just decide to give up and lay down and believe that all is lost and everything is over, those folks already are controlled, right? The regime has already won against those folks. They have already gotten those folks to submit to fascism, to hand over their liberty, right? So please understand that the regime wants you to be in a state of complete overwhelm, to be in a full-on panic, because you're very easy to manipulate and control. But their ultimate goal is to move you from panic to just complete surrender, right? Either one of these states work for Donald Trump and the fascists. And so when you read news stories like what's happening in Venezuela, and your first response is just like, oh my God, it's all over. We're going to war. And this is like, oh my God, we are like the axis of evil with Vladimir Putin as he invades Ukraine and we invade in Venezuela. And like, oh my God, right? Donald Trump made some offhand comment about how Mexico is next, right? That's just to ramp it up even more. When you let your emotions run you like that, when you let yourself get really whipped up, I think it's really good to just remind yourself who benefits from our panic. They want you to feel like you have to take all of your time constantly monitoring all of the terrible things that they're rolling out at this breakneck pace. They want your focus and your attention dedicated to keeping up with the news cycle, which is frankly just like a completely exhausting process. There's a reason very early on in 2025, I decided I was going to make a select number of videos on a select number of topics, and I often was going to leave news stories on the cutting room floor. I wasn't going to address them at all, actually, even though I knew that they were videos that likely would go really viral. I was like, I have to pace myself. I can't keep track of every single news story, and sometimes it doesn't really matter. It doesn't do me or y'all any good to cover certain topics, especially when they're breaking. That's why I don't cover an awful lot of breaking news, and that's why I'm not diving into this story more fully right now. I will later, but not yet. So let me just remind you of a couple of truths here, and then I really encourage you, maybe put down your phone for a little bit, go for that walk, engage in that meditation. I'm going to go to my meeting and I will come back and make some more videos on this subject, and I promise not to freak you out. I also promise not to be a Pollyanna and not to minimize the severity of the situation, but at the same time, we have to be conscious of the way that the regime is attempting to manipulate and control us through their evil, terrible actions. Sure, there are other reasons that they are bombing Venezuela. It's not just about freaking you out, but that's like a really big added benefit. That is definitely built into the plan. So firstly, remember that the future is not yet written. We don't know what's going to happen next. If anybody is telling you that they do, maybe take a break from that person. I bet you a nickel, those are the same folks who said that Donald Trump and Bibi were starting World War III in the Middle East after they attacked Iran, and that all, what's come of that? Not only is the future not yet written, but we have power in helping craft what that future looks like. One thing I learned in therapy a really long time ago is that we can often mistake vigilance for safety. We can believe that hypervigilance can procure our safety. This leads to doom scrolling. This leads to escalated anxiety, waiting for the next piece of news to be the thing that takes you down, that reassures you, that helps counteract all of your fears. Being plugged in to the incessant news cycle right now and giving all of your focus and energy to that, what is that accomplishing for you? What are you setting aside from the rest of your life to spend hours poring over these news stories, to watch creators video after creators video, to read endless think piece after endless think piece? What else in your life are you not tending to when you are focused on these breaking stories and being glued to every piece of news that comes out, every single update? Who are the people that you could be connecting with right now? What kind of organizing could you get to? I saw in one of my local groups that there's already a protest being put together and people are getting ready to head out for it. What are you not tending to in your life because you are overwhelmed, you are frozen, you are on the verge of being shut down? Either your personal life or resistance work, what is not happening because you are playing right into the hand of the regime? Remember, our mantra is fuck you, make me. We are not going to be overwhelmed. We are not going to be shut down because we are not giving any victories to the regime. They want you in an absolute panic over this story. And when we are panicky, we can't organize effectively. We can't resist effectively. We can't take care of ourselves and our community effectively. So I really want to encourage you, take a little break. I'm going to go take a break for a couple hours, and it'll be good. It'll be good for me, and I promise it'll be good for you to spend some time offline. By disengaging, you thwart the doom spiral process that the regime wants you to fall into. And that's a victory for us, so go claim it.